Bhagavatam Puranamamalam Yad Vaishnavanam Priyam Yasmin Paramaham Samekamamalam Gyanam Param Giyate Tatra Gyana Vairagya Bhakti Sahitam Naiskarmyam Aviskritam Tachchinvan Supaten Vicharana Paro Bhaktya Vimuchen Naraha. So good morning, dear devotees. I'm sorry we're having some internet problems today, and we just crashed on me and we started again. So this is our daily adventures in Srimad Bhagavatam. We're on part 27 of Meeting in Kurukshetra, and today we're going to speak something about the pride of Uddhava. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
So, I want to thank everybody for coming again. We're here in the house of Urugai Prabhu and Lalita Kun Mataji, and nice to see Madhupati Prabhu online. Thank you for coming back. We're having little problems with the internet. We're going to read something today from Uddhava Sandesh, and also little things maybe from the Bhagavatam and a few different literatures. Gora Graganya Gana Gota Goloruharam Goranga Gudatama Gopyara Kolpa Briksham Gopala Gada Ratidam Yati Singha Gora Govinda Deshi Kavaram Satatam Namami. In Uddhava Sandesh, Rupa Goswami, he's described how Krishna sent Uddhava to Vrindavan, what happened at that time, why he sent Uddhava, what was Krishna's condition. So we'll be reading some of this Uddhava Sandesh, and perhaps also Hansadut, another book in a similar nature, along with Gopal Champu and some Bhagavatam, and a rare book called Vrindavan Lilamrita, which I hear something from today also, and maybe a few other literatures too. So in the first verse of Uddhava Sandesh, Rupa Goswami is described. Sandri Bhutanava Vitapinam Pushpitanam Vitana Lakshmi Vatam Dadati Mathura Patane Datta Netra Krishna Krida Bhavana Vadabi Mudni Vidyatamano Dadyo Sadyastara Lahridayo Gokula Ranya Maitrim. So Rupa Goswami describes that Sandri Navavitapinam, when he saw the Navavitapinam, Nava means new, in Sanskrit Vitapinam means these trees. When he saw these new trees in Mathura, or Pushpitanam, who were giving flowers, and it's described Vitanai, that there you couldn't see the sun exactly because the trees in that garden were so thick, they made a kind of canopy, like a curtain overhead. It's very, very wonderful. And Rupa Goswami describes this is Lakshmi Vitam. This is real opulence. Real opulence means trees. Real opulence doesn't mean cement. As Damodar Maharaj once commented, there was one devotee he brought from New York to India. It's the first time he'd ever left the city in his life. And he came to India, and Maharaj took him some different places. And wherever they went, he said, "Oh my gosh, this is grass, this is a tree." He never walked on grass before. Everything was just cement. And he was so astonished. So that's not real opulence, that's hell. But real opulence, the spiritual world, means flowers and trees. And we spoke something about this in our last session. So when Datta Netra, when Krishna saw those flowering trees in Mathura, and he was seeing this from the roof of his palace there, immediately, Dadyo Sadhya, Sadhya means immediately, Dadya, he began to meditate on Gokalranya Maitrim, on the friendship of the people of Vrindavan. This is one reason why we want to grow gardens and trees and things. We want to live amongst it because that reminds us of Vrindavan. And at that time, Tarla Hridaya, Krishna's heart began to tremble and he sighed heavily. Tears began to roll down from his eyes. Can I have that? And Nandakishore Goswami describes in Vrindavan Lilamrita. Gopi Gana Sahite Sobhana Jay Krida Puna Puna Smadhiya Se Pranayani Vida Bolo Hare Krishna Hare Krishna
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram
At that time, Puna Puna Smadhiya, again and again, he began to remember the Gopi Gana, the gopis of Vrindavan, and Shobhana Jay Krida, the pastimes that he was playing with the gopis. And thinking about them, Krishna became very disturbed. And he became as silent as a picture. And Rupa Goswami describes in Uddhava Sandesh, Swasola Sa'ata Tarilita Stula Nalika Mala Kurvan Purna Noyana Payasam Chakravalai Pranalihi Smaram Smaram Pranaya Nividam Balavikeli Lakshmim Dirgot Kanta Jati Lahridayas Tatra Chitra Ito Bhut. Krishna's swalasa, he began to sigh again and again. And his garland, his Nalika Mala, he had this wonderful lotus garland around his neck. And that lotus garland was trembling. And Noyana Payasam, tears were flowing from Krishna's eyes. Like in Rupa Goswami says, Trakavalai Pranali, like a stream, like a river. Krishna's tears were coming again and again. This again is a wonderful quality of our Goswami literature. Prior to the writings of the six Goswamis, and especially Rupa Goswami in Uddhava Sandesh and in Lalita Madhav, and Sanatana Goswami in Brihad Bhagavatamrita, Raghunath Das Goswami in Mukta Charit, we didn't hear much about the separation feelings that Krishna had. It's a very unique contribution, and it's significant. This is part of our long journey to speak about the reunion, the meeting in Kurukshetra. We need to understand this thing. So, smaram smaram, remembering again and again, pranaya nividam, with so much love, those Balivi, those young gopis of Vrindavan. Rupa Goswami says, Dirgod Kanta. Kanta means the throat. When you're trying to express something and you become choked up, Dirgot Kanta. Another meaning is that he's with great longing, with great anxiety. Jatila. Jatila is a lady, but Jatila also means very agitated. Jatila Hridaya, his heart became very, very agitated. And Chitraita Abhut, Krishna became stunned, like a picture. So we heard in our last session how Krishna being very disturbed, feeling separation from the Brajbasis, remembering his promise that he told them, the last words that he said to the gopis of Vrindavan when he was leaving Vrindavan, he said, Ayasya, Ayasya, I'm going to return. But now Krishna's thinking, what are they going to do? They're going to hear that I became a brahmachari. And what are the gopis going to think about that? Of course, what kind of brahmachari is he? We heard in our last 2 sessions ago, I think it was, that Krishna, he's laying at night with the other brahmacharis. He can't go to sleep. He's talking to Krishna, to Balaram, late into the night, talking about his feelings of separation from the Brajbasis. But he doesn't speak to him about all the Brajbasis. He's only talking to Balaram about Mother Yashoda and Nanda Baba and the boys. But there's some other Brajbasis he's also feeling separation from, but he's shy in front of Balaram. He doesn't speak about the gopis. But when he goes to sleep in the middle of the night, he wakes up. he's having a dream. And in the dream, Krishna's dancing in the Ras Leela. And Jiva Goswami says that he wakes up and he thinks, oh my gosh, I'm a brahmachari. What am I doing? This is very bad. I'm not supposed to have dreams about young girls. And then Krishna thinks, no, it's okay. Because we heard from the Upanishads that Krishna Nitya Brahmachari. Krishna's actually always a brahmachari. Because brahmachari, iti brahman achar. What is the meaning of the word brahmachari? It means someone who's situated in Brahman, their behavior. And Krishna is part of Brahman. It means there's no tinge of lust in Krishna's dealings. But still, Krishna's a little bit worried because he's thinking, the gopis, they're going to be hearing about this. This is very bad. Huh? So, Krishna thinking like this, as Rupa Goswami is saying in Uddhava Sandesh, he's meditating on the residents of Vrindavan. He decides, Saeva Sandesha Haras Tatra Desha Rupa Shat. I have to send some Sandesh. I have to send a message to Vrindavan. But who am I going to find who's a perfect person? The messenger has to be the right person. Messenger means a preacher. The preacher is Krishna's representative. If you want to be a preacher, it doesn't just mean you go out and sell books or you bang on a gong or a drum or something and you shout real loud the holy names. That's not the messenger of Krishna. There has to be some certain qualities. So Krishna is thinking to himself, that person has to have different qualities. They have to be very wise. They have to know. They have to have this wisdom because I may tell them something, carry this message, then when he goes there, he may find a different situation, or who knows how they're going to react to the message. So the messenger has to be wise. This is the first thing. And this is the first quality of a preacher. They have to be wise. They have to see what is the situation. Not just that you go out and mechanically repeat something. That's for very, very neophyte devotees. When you first, I remember I was living in a cave. I'm still a caveman. I was living in a cave in the forest on Mount Lemon, the biggest mountain in Arizona, trying to chant Hare Krishna. And that's a long story. But it was really boring living in the cave. And after a while, I wanted to meet the devotees. So I came down to the nearest town. I knew there was no devotees there, no temple. It was Tucson, Arizona. Now there's a temple there. And previously there was a temple too. But I came down and I met someone on the street. I was a street musician at that time, something. And I met someone and I told them, I really like those Hare Krishna people. They're really cool, And he said, well, you just missed them, man. They were over at the university and they just left. I said, oh, damn. He said, but tonight there's a free sitar concert. I said, well, that's really cool. I like Indian music. I want to go and hear the sitar concert. So I went to the university and I found that person was wrong. The devotees were still there. But they were all wearing baseball caps and pants and shirt, and there was no Hare Krishna openly. And they had exhibits. They were distributing prasad, and they had exhibits on Bhagavad Gita and reincarnation and India and things like that, but no open things about Hare Krishna. And I walked up to them and I said, I know who you guys are. I can tell you always got short hair, all of you. You got these funny hats on. You're Hare Krishnas, aren't you? Yeah. And they said, here, take a plate of prasad. They gave me a big plate of prasad. And then Charu Prabhu, Prabhupada's disciple, who I later helped him to open this center in Spanish Fork, Utah, he came to me with a big box of Bhagavad Gitas, and he handed me this box and said, here, go distribute these. Now, I'm a caveman. I don't even remember when the last time it was that I bathed before I went to see them. I had real long hair, and I was living in a cave. I wasn't dressed in a real nice way, and I didn't know what to say. So I asked him, what do I say? And he said, I don't know, something, we're passing these out or something. So a neophyte needs that. We need to have, what are we going to say? And so you tell them and they memorize, yes. Excuse me, sir, are you from here or from out of town? Very good, you get one of these. Here, and you give them a book. But that's horrible. People want to meet a real person. And so Krishna realizes this. I can't just give this guy a line, like a Sankirtan line, and tell him, you say like this. It's not going to work with the gopis at Vrindavan. It's not going to work with Nanda Maharaj and Mother Yashoda. You can't just go there and read a little piece of paper. Krishna said I should do like this, and they smile. And no, you have to be wise. You have to be natural. You have to be your real self. So Krishna's thinking that this person has to be natural. They have to have some wisdom. It has to be a person who's going to be respected. You can't just send a small child. And when we go and do book distribution also, you may be a small child. Sometimes a small child, some friend of mine told me they were in the supermarket and she had her 4-year-old boy, she was holding him in her arms or something, and they saw the person just behind them had some meat. And the little boy's eyes became very big and he said, that's very bad. Don't kill animals. It's a very terrible thing. And the man listened to him. So, he became really embarrassed. I don't know if he put the meat back, but he became really shy and embarrassed. So it's not just a question of age, but it's a question of wisdom. It's a question of gravity that we have. This is the qualities of Krishna's messenger. And we all want to become Krishna's messenger. So he has to be respected by everyone both in Mathura and in Vrindavan. That's not such an easy thing. And he shouldn't hide anything from me. Krishna says this, he shouldn't hide anything from me. That's also important. If you're going to be Krishna's representative, you can't have a separate agenda. I saw many devotees that I would go out with them on book distribution. I call them over, Prabhuji, I'm just watching you. The only people you approach are young girls. Oh, Prabhu, they're easier to talk to. I have better success with them. Be careful, Baba. And usually such persons later on get married. Because he has some other motivation. And you may try to hide that from Krishna, but you can't hide it from Krishna. And Krishna, furthermore, he says that this person has to understand two different opposites. Now, this is a big topic for us. Two opposites in one container, as my Guru Maharaj would say. There has to be sweetness and opulence. Madhurya and Aishvarya. This person has to be able to understand both things. Otherwise, he can't be my messenger from Mathura to Vrindavan. This is Mathura meets Vrindavan, as my Guru Maharaj would say. If he only understands my sweetness, then when he sees how everybody's crying there, then he's also going to start crying. And he won't be able to speak anything. He'll just have a crying session with all the Brijbasis. And that's something, especially ladies, when they start crying, they're happy somebody else cries with them. And they become upset if the husband or somebody tries to solve the problem. Isn't it? You just want someone just to listen to you. It's important. So Krishna says, if he only understands my sweetness, then he won't be able to pacify everyone in Vrindavan. And if he only understands my opulence, then he won't be able to understand their mood. So he has to have both things. And if he only has some just theoretical knowledge, some book knowledge, he says, he's read some books, he understands my sweetness, and he understands some opulence, that also is not no use. He has to understand that I live on prema, that I'm completely dependent on prema. Namama prema vasatayam, Krishna says. So then Krishna is thinking, who can be the best person for this who's here in Mathura? And then Krishna thinks, just like you're wearing a chintamani jewel around your neck, but you're looking for something valuable. He said, I'm like that. I become dull-minded because Uddhava, he's the perfect person. Now the Vrindavan Lilamrita, Nandakishore Goswami, describes another reason why Krishna wanted to send Uddhava in particular. Uddhava satata rahe Krishna sanidane Nana vida seva kore ati drita mani bolo. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Because what is the nature of Uddhava? Uddhava satata rahe Krishna sanidani. Krishna, he's always looking, where is Krishna? Where is Krishna? This is the nature of Uddhava. So Uddhava appreciates his sweetness. Ananavida seva kori ati jitamani. He would serve Krishna in so many different ways. Krishna ta prati ati soy kripa kore anande Uddhava nija mani garbhadare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram. And this is the main point we wanted to focus on today. In this verse from Vrindavan Lilamrita, Nanda Kishore Goswami describes an inner reason why Krishna wanted to send Uddhava. In this verse we just read, he describes two reasons. Krishna ta prati atishoy kripakoy. Krishna was very pleased, atishoy, with Uddhava. And therefore kripakoy, he wanted to give some mercy to him. But there's a problem also. Because Krishna was giving his mercy to Uddhava, Anande Uddhava, and he became very happy, yes. And Nija Mani Garbe Dare. He became a little proud. Don't you know who I am? I'm Krishna's best servant. I have the same complexion as Krishna even. Uddhava looks very much like Krishna. And Krishna was thinking, Mora sama Krishna bhakta keha nahi anya. Uddhava was thinking, Mora sama Krishna bhakta keha nahi anya. There's no devotee like me. I am the best amongst all the devotees. Bhakta gana madhye muni ati bhodo dhanya. Ami bhodo bhakta. Bhaktivinoda Thakur in Chaitanya Siksamrita, when he speaks about the fault of the Keshi demon, he says in the Bengali there that this is a mentality of that person. Ami bhodo bhakta o acharya. I am a big devotee. I am a great acharya. And Uddhava was thinking something like this also. That Bhakta Gana Madhya, amongst all the devotees, Ati Bhada. I am the best of all the different devotees. Emata Uddhavera Chitte Ahankari. In this way, this ahankar, this kind of pride, entered into the mind of Uddhava. Sheshakala Kata Krishna Jane Antari. In Krishna, he came to understand this. So Krishna decided, Uddhavera Ahankara Kori Bari Dura Mani Chila Pataiya Dila Brajapura He Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram.
Krishna decided that to destroy this pride, this ahankar of Uddhava, I'm going to send him to Vrindavan. Oh, you're a great devotee, Uddhava. You think you're the best of devotees. Okay. Sometimes we have this attitude. There's a saying in America, it's a big fish in a small pond, or a big frog in a small pond. When we're around some new people or something, we start becoming proud because I know 5 Bhagavad Gita verses and 4 tunes for Hare Krishna on the harmonium. I'm almost an incarnation. I'm part of the Manapuris. I'm a great musician. We think like that. Prabhupada said in one lecture in Los Angeles in 1972, when he's sitting in his garden. If you go to Los Angeles, you have to go to Prabhupada's garden there. It's very beautiful. They maintain it to this day. Nice place to go and chant japa. Prabhupada said there, unnecessary pride is very bad. And then Prabhupada gave an example of it. Oh, I become very advanced in Krishna consciousness. That we should never think. In the Uddhava Parva, the Mahabharata, there's also a description about 18 different faults. Madasadasha dosha shat pura ya sa prakirtita lokadesham patikulyam abhyasariya mrisavacha kama kroda parantantram parivado tapaishanam artahani vivadascha matsaryam pranipidanani Ishya moha tivadascha samgyanaso vyasuyita tasmat pragyo namadyeta sadahrited vigaritam. So these 18 faults can be found in proud persons. Sometimes we give a discussion about the faults of Krishna. We did that once in Goloka Dham with Sachinanda Maharaj. We gave a seminar. It's a wonderful topic, and I'm not going to go there today, but in different shastras, including Rupa Goswami's Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu and Baladev Vidyabhushan comments on this, and many different comments. Bhakti Vinod speaks about this in Jaiva Dharma, many places, speaks about 18 faults in the conditioned soul. And what you'd be very interested to know is that Krishna has 16 of them. And those 18 faults, God doesn't have. But Krishna has 16 of those faults. And those 16 faults make him greater than God. Because there's some sweetness there. So I won't go any further than that. But these 18 faults can be found in someone who's a proud person. And someone who's very, very proud, lokadvesham. The people, they hate them. When you have great pride, no one's going to appreciate you. People can't figure out in America, how is it that Mr. Trump lost the election? Well, and I don't want to get into politics here, but there's a lot of people who hate him. Why? Because I think anybody will admit he's a very proud person. And when we exhibit that kind of pride, nobody likes a proud person. He may be a good president or not, I don't know. But nobody likes a proud person. And because that proud person, as we see also in this case, abhyasriya mrisavacha, he has this pride, and he thinks that other people, they're not appreciating me properly, they're not giving me proper respect, they didn't give me the opulent prasadam that I'm due, they didn't give me a big enough seat, they didn't speak sweetly enough to me, they didn't appreciate what I cooked. And in our dealings with each other, we feel like that sometimes. The wife feels like, you're not appreciating me enough. And sometimes the husband also feels like that. We want some respect, right? So this is a nature of pride. And a proud person, he has this idea in his mind, it's just only in his mind, that people are not appreciating me enough. And then because of that, he starts acting in negative ways to other people, and just because of his mind. So Mahabharata is describing the nature of pride and what happens when you have this pride. And then the next thing that takes place is they start imagining faults with virtuous people, and they start criticizing different people. And then the next thing is they don't hesitate to tell some lie. That's the next stage of your pride. The first thing is that people don't appreciate you. And because they don't appreciate you, what happens then is you become upset. Oh, they're not giving me proper respect. Hey, Baba, just be a little bit humble. Maybe they will give you respect. Don't live for that respect. And then what happens after that, he starts acting in negative ways. He thinks that they're not respecting me, so he starts treating them in a way that's not appropriate. They're not giving proper respect to me. They're not washing the dishes when I want them to. They're not listening to my instructions. And they become disturbed with them. And then the next thing they do is they start finding fault with people. And then it becomes so bad, even with people who have good qualities. They're finding fault with those persons. Matsarya pranipadanani. This matsarja arises, and they start finding fault with everyone. And then the next thing that happens is irsya. They start telling lies. They start seeing fault where there's actually no fault in people. And they're criticizing everyone else because the next stage of envy is you don't want anyone else to get the same kind of respect that I'm getting. That's the next thing. And so you want to push everybody down. This envy is like a disease which gets worse and worse and worse. And the next symptom is they become so attached and so eager after wherever their pride may lie. I'm a great musician. I'm a beautiful woman. They become so attached to that thing. And then if someone speaks against it, actually you're not the most beautiful woman. This other girl over here is more beautiful. They become very, very upset about that. They become attached to that false ego, to that false thing, which is actually not them. They're not really a beautiful woman. They're really a spirit soul. And that beauty is not eternal with the body as much as elderly ladies would like it to be. Those different qualities we have of being a great musician or being a great chess player or a great kirtaniya, whatever it may be, those qualities don't belong to us. That's not really me, but we identify with that. And when someone praises us for something, then immediately our ego goes there. And we start identifying, yes, I'm a pracharak, I'm giving class, and we're doing on Facebook Live, and I'm a great speaker because at least 6 people come to hear from me. My God, I'm a very, very special person. So we become attached to the subject of that what people give us respect for. And then the next quality that happens is that those people who praise that particular quality that we have. Oh, Prabhuji, that was a great class. I mean, you're just so special. And they think, yes, this person, they're a special devotee because they appreciate me. Oh, you're so beautiful. Yes, he's a nice guy. I like him. You're such a good cook. Yes, let's invite him over for prasada more often. And in this way, we compromise ourselves and we sell ourselves for some cheap prestige. Pratista sta drista sapacharamani me redinatet. And for that pratista, for that glory that we may get from other people, that asha, we want that so bad. Raghunath Das Goswami says it's like the urine of a donkey. It's like a low-class woman who's a meat eater, and she's dancing. And it uses the word drista. Drista means very impudent. She doesn't give respect to anybody else. So we sell ourselves to those kind of persons. That's the next quality. And then the next quality is that he becomes more degraded in his criticism of other people. And he sees that he sees other people, other reasons why people give respect to other persons. He considers them to be deception. And he criticizes. Just to give an example too, he likes his sangha. And people give me respect in this sangha, and that's why I like it. And then he can't appreciate someone from another sangha. And so he's going to criticize that other sangha in a very shallow way. Because the sangha may be good, the sangha may be bad, sometimes it's up, sometimes it's down. And I'm not the judge of that. We should look to see someone's bhakti. Be a deep person, not just because it has this title, ISKCON, the sangha is good, and has the title Gaudiya Math is bad, or because ISKCON is bad or good. That's very, very shallow. Americans are good and Russians are very, very bad. That may be true. But if we think like that, then we compromise ourselves. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur in Chaitanya Siksamrita, in one place he says that if someone thinks that the external decorations of a devotee, the tilak and the kunti mala and things, these are the standard of a devotee, then that person's going to become swayed by some sectarianism. And some envy will come up in him. He'll think this person, he'll start distinguishing. This is a devotee, this is not a devotee. This person has the American flag on his t-shirt, it must be good. This person has ISKCON, BBT on his t-shirt, it must be good. This person has a Gaudiya Math t-shirt, I'm not going to look at him. They're thinking like that. And in this way, these distinctions come in, and we fall down. Of course, we should serve our Guru's Dev's Seva Sangha, and we should love that and be faithful to that. But it doesn't mean we should be hateful. So, the Mahabharata goes on to explain. So then to preserve his pride, he wastes a lot of money. You can see this in young women, especially when they're a beautiful young girl, and they get like 25, 35, 45, and the beauty is not as much there. So they what do? The Mahabharata describes, they spend huge amounts of money to preserve whatever it is that keeps their pride. On legal challenges, maybe, or on makeup, or they spend a lot of money to get classes or something so I can be the best class giver, so nobody else is going to be better than me because I have to maintain my pride. This is the next stage of pride. They start spending all their money on it. And then they become constantly engaged in quarreling. This is the next stage of pride. And they become envy when they see someone else who has some prosperity, and it's burning in their heart. And then the next stage of the envy is they want to inflict pain on other people. And we were mentioning the other day, we went to see an old friend of ours, and I haven't seen him in a few years, and he's been watching a lot of news or something, I don't know, but he's a real big fan. Again, I'm not into politics, but he's a real big fan of Mr. Trump. Okay, that's fine. That's up to him. But he was telling me, yeah, Mr. Trump, actually, he really won the election. And you know what I'm going to do? I want to go to America and I want to get a gun. I'm going to go around and shoot all those damn liberals and stuff. Really? He said, really, I mean it. I want to do that. And I don't think he was 100% serious. I really hope not. he's a devotee, chants his japa and things. But Prabhupada used to say sometimes joking means half serious. He's at least half serious. And this is what happens when we have this further pride. We want to inflict pain on other people. And then this envy develops further, and his heart is burning, and they become completely bewildered. They're deluded. They become covered over by ignorance. And then they don't know what to do and what not to do. They don't know what is proper etiquette. And they become absorbed in violence to other people. And the Mahabharata says because they have all these terrible vices, an intelligent person will avoid this pride. Again, the Manava Dharma Shastra describes Samana Brahmano Nityam Udvijat Vishad Eva Amrita Sheva Chakhangshed Avamanasya Sarvada Sukam Hyavamata Sete Sukam Cha Pratibudhyate Sukam Charati Loke Smin Avamanta Vanashyati. That throughout his life, Samanad Brahmano Nityam, always is Brahman, Nityam, he should consider that any respect that I get is like bishad. Bishad, it's just like poison. And whatever respect people, that's poison. And he should consider when someone criticizes him, that's amrit, that's nectar. If someone says something really bad about me, if someone says something bad about you, if they disagree with what you said on Facebook, I've seen people can't sleep at night. Who gives a damn? It's just a Facebook conversation, but people literally can't sleep at night, and you can tell because you see where they're at in the world, and every few hours, it's 1 o'clock in the morning, they got up and they had to write something else to refute this thing. And then the other person says something, and they have to say something again. Nobody's going to remember that conversation. And even if you're victorious in your conversation, nobody's going to remember that either. And it's probably not going to affect the other person. It's just complete illusion. Therefore, we say that Facebook is an illusion, is a delusion inside of an illusion. And this whole material world is an illusion, and Facebook is a delusion inside of an illusion. I also use Facebook, but we have to be careful how we use it. And the Manava Dharma Shastra goes on, Sukam Hyavamata Sheti Sukam Chapradibhudyate, that we should, if someone learns to tolerate dishonor, then they'll become happy. They'll be able to move around in a happy way. They won't be so agitated. And rather, the person who criticizes you, they'll become embarrassed. And their happiness in this life and the next life will be vanquished. Again, let me read 2 more quotes from Srila Prabhupada. Beautiful quotes, and we'll finish. This is from chapter 3 of the Nectar Devotion. Prabhupada says, anyone who has any desire or aspiration for satisfying his senses by becoming more and more important, either in the material sense or in the spiritual sense, cannot actually relish the really sweet taste of devotional service. So Krishna saw this. He saw that Uddhava has some sweetness. He's always thinking of me. But because Uddhava has this little tinge of pride, that Krishna, I'm a great devotee. Krishna has given me so much mercy. Because of that, he can't really relish the love of Vrindavan. And so Krishna opened up this school of Braj to crush the pride of Uddhava and take him to a higher level. In a lecture Prabhupada gave in 1976 on the 27th of June in New Vrindavan, Prabhupada said, a devotee is never envious of another devotee. If someone's envious, he said, he's not a devotee. Tadadineshu maitri. One who is a devotee, we have to make friendship with him. How can we hate them? We shouldn't hate anyone. We should give respect, amanina manadena, to everyone. And if we can actually do that, and what a wonderful opportunity to do that is there in this book distribution. Prabhupada saw this book distribution really is meant for very advanced devotees. This Harinam is for very advanced devotees. But Prabhupada told everybody, you go out and do this. And it gives you some opportunity. Because if you go out there and you're thinking, I'm better, these scummy, nasty people, you're disgusting. Let me give some mercy to you because I'm so much better. I can promise you, if you go out there with that kind of attitude, you're going to have a really bad day. You're going to suffer because people are going to hate you because you have this pride. This is, as Mahabharata is describing, as soon as some pride is in, people see that they don't like it. They can't appreciate it. So we have to give up that pride, and that book distribution, that Harinam, that can help us. Because we go out and we develop some compassion for people. We develop love for them. Never mind trying to memorize something to tell them. But if you go out there and you actually have some affection for people, that was the exercise I always found when I was doing book distribution or Harinam, is I would try to find something good in everyone. And it's so an ecstatic thing. The nasty person, a proud person, tries to find fault in everyone. But the nature of a devotee, Prabhupada says, is that he's a doshadarshi. He doesn't see fault, and he'll find something good in everybody. I found it always the hardest people were the businessmen when I was distributing books in the airport. These guys in a suit and tie and a briefcase. But I found after some time that if I could appreciate them and love them, and the guy, he's better than me. How is he better than me? He's a meat eater. He's a drunkard. He's a whoremonger. But he's better than me about dealing with money. You can ask my wife. I'm terrible with dealing with money. I'm terrible with business things. And this man's really expert with that. I should respect that. He's better than me in this particular way. And if we genuinely feel that way, if we find something good in everyone, this woman is a very beautiful woman. That's a good quality. Women need to be beautiful. Prabhupada says they should be respected for that beauty. Let's give some respect there for that. Even it's said in the Bhagavatam, Krishna book, that when Putana entered into Braj, all the Brijbasi men would look and say, wow, she's really beautiful. There's nothing wrong with being beautiful. That's the asset of a woman. You can be respectful to that. You see if someone has a lot of muscles, be respectful of that. If they're expert in this thing or that thing, find some good quality in them and love them for that and appreciate them. Then we can develop our bhakti. So Krishna here, he wanted to smash the pride of Uddhava. And therefore he was sending him to Vrindavan. So I'm going to go away just for a couple of minutes. And while I'm gone, who's Anupayani Radha is going to take this keyboard and she's going to sing a really wonderful kirtan. Just a little bit for just 5 minutes or something. It's nice to see everybody online. Madhupati Prabhu and Vikaram and Sanjay Prabhu and Sri Thakur Prabhu. This is the St. Petersburg Mafia. We have and Mahashakti Prabhu. Okay, Mahashakti Prabhu has some comment here, kind of question, which we'll mention a little bit later. And Chaitanya Chandra Prabhu, Naveen, Madhupati Prabhu. So we'll be back in a few minutes. If anybody has any reflections or comments, something you liked, or something, you can type it in online. We'll be back in just a minute. Mahashakti Prabhu comments, he says, I could not find in the Krishna book that Krishna sent Uddhava to curb his pride. And he gives a quote from the Krishna book. From the intellectual standpoint, he was highly qualified. Krishna, being a very loving friend of Uddhava, wanted to send him to Vrindavan just to study the highly elevated ecstatic devotional practice, service practice there. Even if one is highly elevated in material education and is even the disciple of Brihaspati, he still has to learn from the gopis and the residents of Vrindavan. How to love Krishna to the highest degree. Sending Uddhava to Vrindavan with a message to the residents of Vrindavan to pacify them was Krishna's special favor to Uddhava. Well, in several different commentaries, Jiva Goswami mentions that Uddhava had some pride. Different descriptions are given sometimes. We were reading from Uddhava Sandesh, and Rupa Goswami describes like that also. But even in this quote from Krishna book here, it's really implied. Prabhupada says, even if one is highly elevated in material education, and even if he's a disciple of Brihaspati, he still has to learn from the gopis and residents of Vrindavan. So Uddhava's pride was a very subtle thing. It wasn't a big, gross kind of pride, like we may have. It was a subtle thing. Chaitanya Chandra Prabhu, Naveen, Hare Krishna, Madhupati Prabhu comments, the trickiest kind of pride when we think we're humble. Yeah, that's when I don't know, for some reason this thing's not charging.
Not charging?
Sorry. Yeah, sometimes there's another kind of pride that I'm the most humble person. As one devotee, actually was a sannyasi, a friend of mine, he used to make a joke and he would say, Prabhuji, please accept my offenses and excuse me for my obeisances. And he's making a joke. You know, in other words, we shouldn't be mechanical. I think that was the point he was trying to make. We shouldn't be mechanical in how we're doing. But that makes me nervous. It's okay.
Said, the sound is down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's better if we put this thing up here to see if we can do that. I'm sure that'll be better. That's the best we can get at the sound. So we can also put on a show sometimes and be so humble to get, because we want affection and things, and we're doing. But even that kind of humility is still better than being rough and harsh with people. I always remember once I used to go take bath in the Ganga every day, and I would watch some of the local people, and I remember sometimes seeing the children come, and before they would take bath, they would touch the feet of their parents. And it's so sweet. And I remember seeing once one man and his wife came there, and she was touching the feet of their parents who were with him, and their guru was also there, and they're giving some ashirvad, some blessing before they took bath in the Ganga. So that type of respect may be artificial. It may be mechanical. Excuse me, Prabhu, please accept my obeisances and forgive me for my offenses. We just kind of say that thing. But still, as Boy George says, bow down, mister. That bowing down is still helpful to us because someone may appreciate that, and that person who appreciates it may be an advanced devotee. Whereas if we act in a very harsh way, it's very dangerous. So, yeah, we can also act like we're humble, but even acting as we're humble still is beneficial. Sanjay says, a very wonderful description of pride. Thank you very much. And Gora from New Zealand is here. Really, Gora's from Mayapur, but he's just temporarily in New Zealand. He says, book distribution is a great mirror to see one's own consciousness. Wow, what a wonderful comment that is, isn't it, in fact? A great mirror to see one's own consciousness. Thank you for the encouragement. Although my motives are not so great, we're going to attempt to do some book distribution again starting on Monday. Please pray for us. We want to pray for you. We want to try to encourage you. Even I can't go out and do book distribution, but at least we can encourage it. Huh? And Aditi says, where can we get the book Vrindavan Vilamrita? Do you have an audio book? I can send it to you. It's in Bengali. But there's no English translation this time. Huh? And Gora Prabhu's replying, he comments on Madhupati's statement about when we become proud. with humility. He says, puffed up with humility. And Manu Prabhu has commented, I'm usually not live at these kathas, it's very early, but I really appreciated your point from a few classes back of the importance of this news of the spiritual world to replace all the Gramya Katha. Thank you for sharing the real news. I'll tell you, I'm agitated. I'm a very agitated person. I'm so sick of other solutions. There's only one solution. Prabhupada said, we were saying in our last session here too, he told the GBC, right? What is that solution? Prabhupada told them, this chanting should go on. Instead of meetings, resolutions, dissolutions, revolutions, and no solutions, there should be chanting. All those other things don't work. I don't mind your revolution. That's fine. I don't mind you want to kick out all the bad managers, you want to do this and that, that's fine. But the real revolution, as John Lennon's saying, so you say you want a revolution. Well, we all want to change the world. Mm-hmm. But you should change yourself first. The real revolution begins internally, and if we don't begin with that, we're not being honest, and we won't be able to have any other kind of revolution. What's really needed is Krishna Katha. That's the ultimate solution. It doesn't mean other solutions are not there. Don't mind if you're a manager, if you're a money maker. Those are also solutions, and they're needed. And we should encourage people who have faith in those things. But money's not going to make the world better. Management's not going to make the world better. But Krishna consciousness will make the world better. And we need money with that. We need management with that. Nanda Maharaj is a manager. He's organizing things in Vrindavan. It's not that management is bad, but that management should be there to support Krishna. Everything in Vrindavan is just to support Krishna. It's the only purpose. And so in our movement, management is there to support the Harinam, to support Krishna Katha, to support Krishna consciousness. And then it's wonderful. And then it actually becomes an anga of bhakti. It's a gonanga. It's a secondary anga. The mukyanga is Navavidi Bhakti, or the ninefold processes of bhakti, beginning with hearing. First thing is we hear Krishna Katha. We hear Kirtan. And by hearing that, then we know what to do. We know how to do Kirtan. So first Shravan, then Kirtan. And those ninefold processes, even if they're not accompanied by anything else, if you just hear and chant and remember Krishna and worship him, and then you're going to get some benefit. Whereas these other things which are Gona Bhakti, they're secondary. It's not that everybody who makes money is developing Bhakti. It's not that all the managers are developing Bhakti. It's not that all the people, all the encyclopedia salesmen in the world, the booksellers, they're getting Bhakti because they're selling books. It's not just the act of selling a book. Even they may be selling Prabhupada's books. But if they're selling it for a proper purpose, and then we can speak something about what is Agyata Sukriti, but that Agyata Sukriti is not bhakti. It's something which, someone sells some books for you. You sell some books to a bookstore, and they're selling the books, and the man does like it. He's getting some Sukriti. But Jiva Goswami and Bhakti Sandarbha says that's not actually bhakti. It's something which leads to bhakti. And we should understand the difference between the two. If we're always just thinking about Agyata Sukriti, then how are we going to practice bhakti? Is someone translating this book, Vrindavan Lilamrita? Slowly. Something's going on. I've given a lot of classes from it. Our classes on the Yagya Brahmins, the wives of the Yagya Brahmins, is based somewhat on that Vrindavan Lilamrita, and a few other classes also. It follows the Bhagavatam, it follows Uddhava Sandesh in this case pretty well. Okay, anything from anybody here in the room with us today?
Prabhu,
Do you want to take this?
There is some. Thank you. In regard to, sometimes there is this politics of Harinam, they say that Harinam is just Agyata Sukriti. It's not very practical. There are other strategies to preach Krishna consciousness. So what do you think about it? They think some devotees say